You dick ass piece of garbage.
You dick goblin?
You dick goblin. Oh man, what a way to start that. Halo used to be a lot better than it is. Would it be funny if I built that Lego set while we were recording?
Do it, bitch.
No, we're gonna play Halo. Ow! 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 Why?
Please, God, save me from these thoughts.
I don't want to be a lesbian. Ah! Oh no, those two girls are kissing. Oh, they must be really good friends. Man, they must be best friends. They're getting naked now. Yeah, they're just friends. It's just friendly.
Welcome.
I did it. I defeated that alien symbiote. David, the suit. You gotta take it off. Oh no! He's becoming Topher Grace. Oh God!
We have been something.
I'm scared. You're scared too.
You know, if you ever need to talk, I'm here for you.
You're acting guilty as shit.
So, tonight, we watched two movies. Two movies instead of one, and those two movies are Hellraiser 1 and Hellraiser 2.
Yeah. What? Huh? What?
Hellraiser 1 stars Armie Hammer, and Hellraiser 2 was made in
Norway.
Europe land. Europe's penis.
Europe dick.
So, in all seriousness, though, we did watch Thelma, which is a Norwegian film.
Herre, fjern dette fra meg. Frels meg for disse tankene.
Dette går ikke. Det her, det handler om noe som er mye større enn oss.
And we watched Wounds, which is an American horror movie that came out this year on Hulu. So, we decided to watch this because who cares about that? We'll just talk about it. Tell us about... You liked Wounds better, so let's talk about that one first. Tell us about that one.
Wounds is a film about a group of depressed millennial friends who work at a bar, and they're always coming up with crazy schemes. And they live in Philadelphia. And it's always sunny there. And one day, Dennis, played by Armie Hammer, notices that he's actually in a failing relationship, and he's very depressed. And in the middle of dealing with this, he also gets haunted by a ghost that wants to eat him alive, I think. And and he has a lot on his plate. He has to deal with his relationship being trash and being haunted by a Silent Hill monster
and
at
he
the
has
same
to deal
time.
with having a crush on Zazie Beetz.
And he has to deal with having a crush on a girl who's dating someone else who he can't stand. And that's his life. And I find that not relatable at all, but I still thought it was interesting anyway. 50 Shades of Grey, lady, are you looking at some kind of really experimental ring-themed porn? Okay, well, anyway, serious description.
It's about a bartender played by the grad student from Call Me By Your Name and nothing else of note.
One good man must wear a mask.
So both the twins from Social Network play our main character, just swapping out kind of like the Zack and Cody from Big Daddy.
And he's a 30-something loser. He dropped out of college. He's dating a much younger girl. And she's in college, and she has a relationship with a professor who's kind of creepy with her. And there's the bar regulars, including a Confederate flag guy in the South. And things happen.
Someone get the bottle out of that guy's hand.
It's probably one of the kids.
So, fun fact: at the Sundance premiere for this movie, Armie Hammer went to it, and he just pranked people because he had a bunch of fake cockroaches in his pocket that he just put around him, and that he would just
Throw at stuff.
Throw at stuff and prank people with.
What a hero.
And then at his bar, it's kind of dirty and infested with cockroaches, but then these real young college kids come and ask for beers, and it's very obvious that they're underage. But then Armie Hammer
And
goes
he's just like, whatever, they're not hurting anybody.
They're just having
Which is
beers.
hilarious foreshadowing.
And then after that, they leave their phone back after a bar fight happens.
Unrelated to them. Just
Yeah.
a bar fight with other characters happens, and then they just kind of bail out. And then he takes the phone, which actually is linking him to them, and my suspicion is that they're undergoing a completely unrelated horror movie that we're not seeing, that he accidentally gets the fallout of in the midst of just this relationship drama about being a depressed 30-something and you're
Being irresponsible and...
Well, because at one point, Zazie Beetz' character says she feels like she's almost 30 and wasting her life away. And he tells her, nah, you're just living it. Because he doesn't have very many aspirations, and he's just a really chill guy who doesn't really... He's not ambitious. He's just fine with just coasting, right? And everyone else...
And he's just being irresponsible, and he's letting younger people drink alcohol at a bar, and he's drinking his own alcohol.
He's not, like, super concerned for his friend who gets in a bar fight and has his face sliced open with a broken bottle.
He says, it's fine. You don't have to go to the hospital or anything.
You should probably go to the hospital. And he goes, no, I'm good. And he's like, all right.
All right, whatever.
So it's just an irresponsible guy has to come to terms with the fact that everybody else is kind of moving on without him.
And he's kind of destroying himself
And,
from the inside.
and he's very self-destructive. And also, in addition to this, he's haunted by a ghost.
Yes.
And
then,
I think that's hilarious. This whole movie could work perfectly without the ghost shit. But it could also work perfectly without, Actually, no, I don't think it could. I don't think it could work perfectly without the relationship drama stuff. That grounds it.
Yeah.
That was, kind of the most interesting part of this. So, it's essentially like Marriage Story.
But with ghosts.
But
and
it's if Marriage Story took place in Silent Hill.
if there's, a little bit of Lovecraftian stuff happening in the corner.
There's monsters that come in from another universe that are, infesting the lowly people of this world. And then just also, he's just like, boy, I'm sad that my girlfriend doesn't love me anymore. That's... What a weird combination that just somehow worked really well.
And also, all this happens in under 90 minutes.
Yeah, this movie was, really knew how to pace itself. It feels way longer than it is. The pace feels like a 4-hour movie, because it just shows so much, and it's like it really takes its time developing stuff. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, it feels like you got a lot more out of it than you would have from other 90-minute movies.
I'll agree with you to a certain point of view if we're getting into the more analysis side of the review, which is... I don't know. I
definitely felt like I knew these characters by the end of it. I felt attached to them.
I didn't. And also, at the end of the movie, I was just... Who cares? It never got its hooks into me, to use a Hellraiser reference. It never...
Hook. Gotcha. I'm a Cenobite.
Oh. And of course, Wounds, I always felt like it was operating at a constant 6 out of 10. As in, everything it did was decently competent, and it had a couple moments where it was decently clever, but it never really added up to anything that I felt was all that impressive or interesting or
thought-provoking.
It never went anywhere.
You know what? Between this and Under the Silver Lake, I'm noticing a theme of movies that I enjoy, which are about depressed, lonely people, like, in their, like, early 30s, who are just, like, completely directionless and hate life, and then something scary and, like, completely, like, abnormal happens to them. And I find that shit super interesting. And you're just like, eh. And I'm not sure why that is. Like, because I don't necessarily find those relatable. Because I'm, like, not even close to 30. Maybe it's because I'm one of those sad people who's aged extremely fast due to trauma. You know?
Because of Skip Westcott.
Because of Skip Westcott.
I guess...
Get out!
So anyway, I think the imagery and scary stuff in Wounds was particularly cool. It was very downplayed and subtle. It never felt like it was going overboard. It didn't feel like it needed to shove an insane amount of gore or creepy shit in your face. It took its time and only gave you enough to keep you a little bit on your toes. But it spent a lot more time focusing on the human element, which I thought was interesting because I don't see a lot of horror movies.
Although I will admit, for horror movies based upon relationship dramas, this one definitely didn't waste my time like Midsommar did.
My dad loves Midsommar, and when he showed it to me, he said, "Oh yeah, there's like 50 minutes you can cut out of this, and it wouldn't change a thing." And he said it's probably one of his favorite movies of the year, but he also skipped through like 30 or 40 minute stretches just to show me like plot relevant stuff, because he was like, I want you to like watch it, but I also don't want you to be bored. And I really respect how nuanced that opinion is.
And this movie was just 90 minutes.
Yeah, and it didn't overstay its welcome.
I would have... So there's two things that I would have liked to have improved it. I would like to have a little bit more time
Spookilies.
fleshing out the characters, and also a little bit more time to build up the horror elements and build up the tension, because I never really felt all that much tension in this.
My chest was all tight by the ending of it.
I wasn't feeling a thing. I feel like the horror elements don't really happen that much until the end. And even when they do, half of the time it's like a dream, so it doesn't really click together.
Yeah.
So there's never that sort of raising of tension that's really that you really need in a movie like this.
Yeah, I could see that. Is it didn't go as hard as it could have on the spooky elements.
It's not that they didn't go as hard on the spooky elements.
Well, we did awful that round. That was okay.
It's just that it didn't have the right build up. The spooky elements just sort of happened, but you never really got to went about them and built them up in the right way.
And like I said, you could probably take out the horror movie half of this, and it's still just like...
It'd just be like
it's an interesting little...
5 out of 10 relationship drama.
Just an indie little character drama that's, like, fine.
Although I will say, one thing that I did appreciate in this movie is that Armie Hammer has finally found his niche. Playing, like, the opposite, like, the inverse of a himbo. It's like, a himbo is the attractive guy with the heart of gold.
Yeah.
This one is playing the scummy, sleazy...
Yeah, attractive guy
in his 30s. The attractive guy who's just a trash.
Just a parasite. Because this guy's just like a psychic vampire of a friend. Mm-hmm. You know? Which... I find characters like that interesting, not from, like, I agree with them or like them point, but, like... I'm interested in broken characters, you know? Like, that's why I like The Punisher so much. Mm-hmm. I find people who are completely busted just interesting.
Mm-hmm. I don't understand how blasé you are about all this. Well, you didn't even want to bring it to the cops in the first place.
God. Fuck this.
People look so normal on the outside.
What are you talking about?
But on the inside, it's all just... worms.
I'd like to thank our guest star, The Dishes. He makes good points this episode.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't wait for none of this sound is going to be in the background at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, Rick.
So I think with that, we will move on from Wounds, a movie that I thought was 6 out of 10 and he liked.
I thought it was closer to like an 8. Maybe a 7. I think I'd need to watch it again, just to be sure. Maybe there's something, once I know how it ends, that I'm going to pick up some extra stuff, because, you know, that's the thing about movies. If really you can get the whole experience out of it by watching it once, then it's not really that good. You know?
Talking to you, J.J. Abrams.
Mystery box. The mystery box is that if you look inside your friend's, like, ripped up face, you'll find peace. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna murder.
Speaking of mystery boxes, let's talk about Thelma.
Thelma, a mysterious girl who.
So I'll talk about this.
I can't finish that joke.
What she finds in the mystery box is her sexual orientation.
Oh, she's getting so excited from the lesbianism that her telekinesis is acting up. Oh, fuck! Oh, jeez. Oh, if she orgasms, everyone will die! Oh, fuck! Dude! Oh my god, she's finishing in her seat at the opera and everyone's gonna get crushed!
So... I've had this movie on my radar for a long time. I wanted to watch it, like, last year, but I never got around to it, because I was going to watch it with a friend, and then this friend basically just stopped answering my texts, so at that point, this movie just dropped off my radar.
Was it me?
Not only.
Oh. Fucking, I gotta punch that guy. I did it!
This is a Norwegian film, and it's came out in 2017, directed by some guy whose name I can't pronounce.
By Sven Gojuva.
Yes, him. Or her, I don't know.
Could be a her. I don't know. This movie,
So it's about
I'm not sure if this had a really feminine quality to it.
So it's about a Scandinavian Norwegian college student who just moved to the big city to study university in biology, but she used to live in rural areas in a very conservative, fundamentalist religious environment, and she starts having, shall we say,
impure
feelings.
thoughts about girl butts.
Yes.
Which is cool. I appreciate that.
And as that starts to happen, repressed memories start to come out forward, and she starts to have psychic powers and la di da da blah 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 blah.
So we made jokes about this when we first watched it, that it's just like
Carrie.
It's just North European Carrie,
but with more, but expanded to be about a sexual minority.
Well, because, okay, the thing with Carrie, which I actually saw very recently, both versions, is that it's sort of like, it's more about just sexuality in general.
Coming of age.
Sexually. Because Carrie, in that movie, hits puberty, and that's when her powers start to develop, and her ultra-conservative, crazy, controlling mother panics. Like, there's a scene where Carrie has her period for the first time and panics and freaks out, because she doesn't even know what that is, and she thinks she's injured, you know? So, it's more about, like, becoming a woman, while as this one's specifically repressing a sexuality. So it's kind of just, all you had to do is tweak one little element just a little bit, and you almost got yourself a completely different movie.
Basically what we're saying is that this is the sequel to Matilda, where Matilda goes off to college, and her repressed sexual orientation causes her telekinetic powers to restore themselves, and then she has this whole crisis about her identity once over again.
What's Matilda? I've never even heard of it. Is that like a sequel to Carrie?
Are you being serious?
When did that come out?
Yes, it's the sequel to Carrie that was directed by Ryan De Palma, and it came out in 2006. No, wait, it was directed by... It starred Mara Wilson, and it was directed by Danny DeVito.
What?
And Danny DeVito played Mara Wilson's father.
Are you serious?
It's a real movie, it's just based on a Roald Dahl book! You moron!
Nah, you eat it.
Now,
none of this is ringing a bell. I'm so confused. I did not know that they made a sequel to Carrie. I just thought that they made 2 remakes.
They didn't. I'm being facetious.
Are you sure?
I was trying to joke with you, but then this happened. What's wrong with you?
It all sounded like real until you said Danny DeVito.
and the unique vision
you do to your hair?
Of director Danny DeVito.
So let me get this straight. You know who Mara Wilson is?
No?
Where have you been living?
I don't know. All of these things you're saying are confusing. I'm so confused. I don't know what's real. Who are you?
So then...
Oh! I was robbed.
I thought that Thelma was going to be more of a horror movie. And it's also 30 minutes longer than Wounds. It's closer to 2 hours. And I thought it was going to hew more heavily into the supernatural elements. But instead...
It's actually exactly what I expected
It's
it
a
to
lot
be.
more of a relationship drama, but with some supernatural stuff in there.
That's kind of the theme tonight.
Even more so than Wounds.
Yeah. Like, because my theory, and this turned out to be untrue, was that, like, I thought all of the supernatural stuff in this movie was going to turn out to just be, like, a red herring, and it was going to just be mental illness, and the character is actually just repressing the fact that she's gay, and that's it. That would be, like, the whole thing. Oh, my God, we're stuck. Back up, back! Oh, you got me killed! We just got stuck in a doorway because we both tried to walk through it at the same time and our shoulders were too wide in this game. I can't believe that fucking happened. Oh, that guy's teabagging you! Oh, the disrespect!
You know what else is disrespectful?
What?
The way that Thelma's father treated her. So in this movie, Thelma, of course, moves to university. She lives in the big city. She attends colleges in biology, and she learns that evolution is real, and that and that the Earth isn't 6,000 years old. And then her parents are kind of subtly pissed at her for that, and that was a great moment. It's fun. And then because of this, she's slowly drifting away from her parents. And then when things start to happen and she gets overwhelmed, she goes back with her parents. And then
realizes that was a big oops.
And then she sort of wakes up to the kind of abuse that they've been subjecting her to all these years. And the way she's repressed these memories has fed into that abuse.
Because in an earlier scene, she talks about how she thinks her parents are really nice people, but has just completely been ignoring and, like, selectively forgetting the fact that they, like, kind of treat her as a prisoner and have her doped up out of her mind so she can't use her powers.
And they reveal also that they did the same thing to her grandmother, who also had these powers.
Yeah, who's probably, like, so far gone she can't even use them.
Yeah, and in that you can read the powers as something of a direct metaphor for the sexuality, or perhaps indirect.
Or being gay just gives you superpowers.
That is also equally possible.
I mean, look at Magneto, right?
You look at Professor X.
Oh!
Listen.
That's not canon.
If you're saying that somebody who starred on Star Trek isn't gay, what's wrong with you?
Hey, man. Yeah.
The first thing that I really felt about this movie is that it was a lot better in the theory that I was imagining it. No, it's a lot better in the discussion and in the theory beforehand than it is actually watching it. I do think that the running time is a bit long and it dragged.
It started to drag a little bit. There was a part where I was actually getting sleepy.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that the biggest problem is that it's a well-executed drama. It's just that you can compress this story and tell this same story in, what would you say, 20 minutes less, 30 minutes less?
Yeah.
You could do a much more efficient version of this story where things just happen a little bit more quickly.
That would be an interesting project as, like, a post-production sort of test.
Yeah.
Make this movie have the same impact with a lower running time. Guys, don't have sex in the coat room. People's coats are here. Show some respect. Alright, okay. Alright, just don't get any of it on the coats, okay? Yeah, there's a lot of long, distant shots. Just Hitchcocky is just staring at people from a distance, and it's really
or like staring
voyeuristic.
at people like on top of a building down into a courtyard
or through windows.
Through windows.
And it's just it just hangs on them. You see, like, I would say there's like a good 5 minutes of just people walking or staring at things.
Yeah, I would say that if there's one criticism I have of this movie is that when you're telling horror stories like this, you always have a careful balance between telling, like when you're doing what a lot of horror filmmakers do today, which is have like a metaphor behind the horror or the supernatural elements.
Yeah.
And if you do that, that's fine, but sometimes you lean too heavily on the side of this is entirely a metaphor without letting the metaphor take on its own life.
Well, because there's no other secondary way to interpret it.
Yeah.
It becomes super clear immediately what it's about, and then that kind of hurts the idea of other readings.
What I'm saying is not that specifically, but like the supernatural elements don't have their own life aside from being a metaphor.
Oh, yeah.
So that
it's not a ghost, it's just sexual repression. That's it.
Yeah, and that...
It's not a ghost, it's just being in a dead-end relationship with a dead-end job.
And that weakens the story from a certain perspective, because it's perfectly well and good to have metaphors and allegories and what have you in stories, but at the same time...
It's not the only thing.
You need to let the story take on its own life.
The story needs to have a literal meaning, too, you know?
And when you prioritize too much the metaphorical reading over the literal reading, then it becomes a little bit weaker.
Because it starts to scream, we want this movie to be really, really deep, right? But then it doesn't feel that deep anymore when literally all you're saying is the message, and there's nothing else to it. It's just... have nuance. Be subtle.
I'm not saying have nuance. I'm just saying let the story be a story.
Instead of just...
a lesson.
Just a big lesson, yeah.
Sometimes...
It's weird how both these movies... Like, we keep accidentally picking movies that have great connecting themes.
Sometimes a cigar just is a cigar.
Sometimes a cigar is just a penis.
So you're telling me that's why the lesbians didn't like smoking?
No, they did like smoking, was in the movie.
Well, she thought she was smoking, but she really wasn't. She was just having a psychosexual dream.
She thought she was smoking weed, but was actually just, like, having a fucking mental breakdown and masturbating at a party in front of all of her friends. Allegedly. It's kind of vague around that part.
Thelma.
I think we'll end this week's Couch Potatoes. We will see you in another couple years when I record another one. And...
Dead.